Coach Gaglione here. This is another edition of our GAGS Goals Updates. This is actually going to be the final suited heavy squat workout for my next competition. That's going to be in York, Pennsylvania, Powerpalooza on April 6th. If you guys have been following along, I'm Coach Gaglione. This is Gaglione Strength. I've been involved in powerlifting for over 13 years, going into my 8th year in business as well with the gym. And just kind of chronicling my journey. I've been as heavy as 340 pounds and I'm sitting around 235. On this particular day, I'll be doing another competition at 220. Looking to get my first total at 220. If you've been following along, kind of dinged up my shoulder. I did not get any successful bench press attempts in at my last competition. So kind of the goal for this meet is to just kind of get a total of 220, kind of make up a little bit for like I said, for like kind of a bad performance last time, and kind of get a total on the board in the new weight class, as well as maybe hit some squat and deadlift PRs in the process as well. So again, if you've been following along for this particular series, I was the original kind of plan was to actually go down to the 198 class, but with travel and work, stress, etc., it just didn't really seem like it was in the cards for me to continue to lose weight and also peak for this meet. And although training was going very, very well, in the beginning, started doing a little bit more traveling. I was in California, Virginia, and then we had the Arnold in Ohio. And that was kind of when things started to kind of go wrong. So if you watched last week's video, you saw I had like a lot of missed attempts, which is not something that typically happens with me. I usually pride myself in training pretty smart, but was trying some different things. Was maybe a little bit too stubborn and didn't really want to adjust the program. So that's kind of a lesson learned. Like, don't be afraid if you're having an off day, because sometimes you start kind of missing lifts. Just like success can breed success, if you start kind of missing lifts over and over again, you can start to kind of dig yourself a hole of fatigue, and also just kind of mental stress and psychological stress that's not really necessary. It's not going to really help you in training or on the platform for sure. So it's really important that you kind of hit your lifts, and even if you got to like kind of adjust downward a little bit, you're better off being successful, going a little bit lighter than planned, or maybe doing a little bit less volume than planned, especially if you have a lot of life stress going on and things like that. On this particular day, again, things were a little bit crazy. Again, like my upper body workout's been pretty bad, just in general. Kind of dealing actually with the opposite shoulder that I hurt in November. I think I've been kind of compensating a little bit on that side, so I'm going to continue to get some kind of work done and work with our team physical therapist, Dr. Alberry. If you're in the Long Island area, definitely highly recommend you guys check him out. So I'm still that's kind of up in the air right now, but the goal for the shoulders is kind of get the shoulder healthy, just so I could hit a bench at the meet that's halfway decent, so I could just kind of get a total on the board. Like I said before, to be honest, in the grand scheme of things, technically, any total at 220 would technically be a PR, since I did not get a total last time. So I'm definitely going to be conservative on the bench moving forward. I will get in my bench shirt a couple of times, but I'm just going to be modest, and maybe if I could just work up to like an opener or something like that, I'd be happy. I do plan on getting it again in this shirt 1 to 2 more times, depending on how I feel. But the most important thing is going to get the shoulder healthy. That's going to be important. The good thing is the shoulder has not really affected my squat performance too much, besides a little bit on the unrack. And I know, like, if you kind of look at some of the videos, you can see some of my training partners kind of had to push me in on my left side, because I'm kind of picking the weight a little bit crooked. I'm not able to get as much tightness on my left side, but since the upper body is not really driving the lift as much as in the bench press, obviously, or in the deadlift, like in the deadlift, I've been having trouble keeping my underhand my lat kind of engaged and tucked on that side, and I'm having trouble keeping my shoulder blade down on my left side as well when I bench. So it's definitely been a pretty big hindrance to my performance. But squats have been feeling really good. Even though I was feeling really run down on this day, it ended up being pretty good. I really tried to focus. I really tried to make sure I got some good sleep the night before. I ate an extra amount, like more food than normal, had a little bit more caffeine than normal. I really was trying to stack all the cards in my favor, just because I really needed, not just physically, but mentally, to have a good workout. Just because I had a string of kind of bad performances and bad workouts moving into the final weeks of training, which is never really something you want during your peaking phase. But sometimes that happens. Sometimes, sometimes maybe if, between all the, like I said, the traveling and the life stresses that I've been having, just kind of I might have missed my peak a little bit. So I'm just trying to salvage the meat at this point and just try to get to the meat healthy. And that happens sometimes. And like I was kind of mentioning before, talking with some of my training partners, when I actually had my best total ever, I actually had a similar situation. So when I totaled my best total ever, again, if you know anything about me, I have never really put all my best lifts together on one day. But my PR total right now is 1950 at 275, which again is not like really great. I had 0 PRs in that meet, but that's technically my best total. Even though, like I said, I've squatted 900 pounds in a meet before, I've benched 575 in a meet before, and I've pulled 660 in a meet before, and I've pulled 700 in the gym. I have never really kind of put all the lifts together in one particular day, and that's kind of hard, especially as an equipped lifter. That's usually always the challenge, is kind of just putting all your lifts together, just because it's so much more technical and there's so many more variables that can potentially go wrong. But that being said, I was, like I said, on pace to kind of even surpass that number. I think my gym total this cycle for my heaviest singles, hit heaviest singles 805, 485 to a half board on the bench, so 805 in the squat, and then a 635 deadlift, which was really smooth. So, that puts me, like I said, a little bit over 1900, which is great. Last year I totaled 1900 at 242, and I was on pace to do around the same at my meet in November as well with it, but I just didn't get the bench, because of the hurt shoulder. But all things considering, so I kind of went into that. I really tried to focus every single lift, and I put on my briefs a little bit earlier. Just once I got to 2 plates, I just put my briefs on just to kind of save my energy, practice the groove a little bit more. On racks were feeling, like I said, a little weird, a little tougher than normal just because of the shoulder, but all in all, everything was moving good. It seemed like as I started to kind of go through the workout, I started to build up a lot more momentum. Did my last warm-up, it was in like the high 600 range. I think maybe it was like 680 or something like that, or 660 or 680, something in that range. And I did that in just the suit itself, no knee wraps. I went right to around a projected opener, which is 750. That was okay. I shifted a little bit to one side on the way up, but it moved okay, and elected to go to 790 next. I just want to try to, again, for me, one of my main goals for this competition is to hit an 800-pound squat. I've been very close the last 2 meets, just falling a little bit short. I did 770 last April at 242, and then I did 777 at 220, and at the Slingshot Record Breakers meet, and just narrowly missed an 804 squat there. So I've been very close a couple of times, and then again, if I can nail an 800-pound squat in this competition, that'll be my 4th weight class I've squatted over 800 in, which would be a cool little milestone for myself. So that's definitely something I'm looking forward to do. I've hit 800 twice in training, and then I hit a pretty comfortable. It actually came up probably better, probably my best set of the day. Very smooth. For whatever reason, my positioning might have been better. I just hit the hole a little bit better. But I've really comfortable and pretty fast 790 squat. So I was pretty happy with that. That was a nice confidence boost for me, and allowed me to kind of continue the workout and continue the plan moving forward. Moving on from there, then I just wanted to get at that point. That was kind of like in between a potential 2nd and 3rd attempt for me, so I didn't really need to do any more straight weight at that point. It's the goal that this workout was to overload, as being my last heavy squat for the meet, kind of get the nervous system primed, which is going to be one of the goals of the peaking phase, is kind of make sure you're overloading a little bit more, whether that be with heavy on racks, reverse bands, and things like that. We do a lot of reverse bands here personally. So I did an 840 reverse monster mini squat, a little bit of bobbled, a little bit halfway or 3/4 the way up, but I was able to muster it up and finish it. Earlier this training cycle, I did do 850 with a reverse monster mini. So that was 10 pounds off my best this cycle, so again, happy with that. So I elected to go to 880 next, which, that 400 kilo number. I did this number last cycle, but it was a little bit higher. So this tied a PR for me at this body weight for this weight class, and it moved pretty comfortably. I was pretty happy with that. And just to have that little bit of overload on my back able to stand up with 880. The pick was difficult, but like I said, it's going to make 800 feel that much easier. The fact that I had 880 in my back in training, so I'm very happy about that. After that, so kind of the hard work was over, and again, for me, I wasn't really sure how the workout was going to go, but I think it's and I really didn't have a lot of motivation to train. I was very tired. I still am very tired today. We had a local meet at Hofstra. Our team did fantastic. We had 7 lifters. We had a lot of 9-for-9 performances, a bunch of lifters. Every single lifter hit at least 1 PR. Everyone has a lot of new lifters, so some people established total PRs, some people hit all-time PRs. So everyone PR'd in the total. A couple of milestones, like Peter hit his first 500-pound squat and 600-pound deadlift. Stephen Clark hit his first 500-pound squat in a competition. My man Thomas, he hit his first 400-pound squat in competition. James hit his first 500-pound deadlift in competition. In the first 400-plus pound squat in competition. So there's a lot of good milestones. And the doctor, he had a 9-for-9 day, PR'd all his lifts, hit a 545 deadlift. So there's a lot of milestones there. I'm pretty happy with how our team did. But again, it's a long day if you're spotting, loading, coaching, handling. So I wasn't really feeling my best going into the workout. So that being said, I'm super happy. And again, it's one of those things where you never really know until you start the workout. So it's always good to kind of just play it by ear and see how you're feeling. I always tell people just show up. That's the hardest part. You could always adjust. You could always pack it in if you really feel like things are not going to go your way. But you don't know until you kind of start warming up. And sometimes your mind can play tricks on you, especially like I mentioned before. I kind of had a string of bad workouts in a row. But at some point, what comes up must come down. What comes down eventually is going to come up. So we always say it's always darkest before the dawn. So sometimes if you have had a lot of bad workouts and stuff, usually if you've had a string of bad luck or a lot of bad workouts, whether it be a string of bad luck in your personal life or anything like that, usually there's going to be a dip, and then there's going to be an upward trend after that dip. So that's just kind of a good life lesson too, that you don't want to just kind of throw your hands up and make sure you always want to kind of push forward and kind of do the best you can no matter what. So all in all, things were good. I just elected to kind of do some squat buddy training after. So again, we talked about Spud Inc. They have some great products. I think the Squat Buddy is an excellent way to get some more volume in for the equipped lifter because it allows a little bit of a wider stance, so you can kind of have a little bit higher transfer to your competition technique. I started out pretty light on this, so I guess 430. Let's see, 430. I did a 470. I guess we did 470 and then 490, and then 520 or 510, excuse me. Let's see, 505, 510, 520. Yeah, something like that. I think it was I did some triples, 470, 490, and I think 520, I believe, something in the neighborhood. Sometimes it gets a little, we had the collars on, so the math kind of might get, 470, 490, and then I did 520 for the final set. So I did 3 sets of 3 there, just to get a little bit of back down volume. Everything felt pretty comfortable. I probably started a little bit more conservative than I needed to, but I just wanted to make sure that I was hitting good form and nailing everything. So I did some box squats with the Squat Buddy. And then after that, that felt really strong, so I ended up going a little bit heavier also on the belt squat after. Did a couple of sets of 5 with 455. Did a wide stance there, and then I did, after I did 3 sets of 5, I believe, 3 sets of 5 at 455. I did some closer stance work just to make sure my legs were getting stimulation and not just my hips. And then I did a couple more sets of 5, 2 sets of 5 at 405 on the belt squat machine. Finished up with some glute ham raises, called it a day. I'm going to probably do a little bit lighter accessory work today. Moving forward, we're going to probably do a lot of speed work and things like that. So one of the things during a peaking phase, not just overloading the nervous system, you want to make sure your technique is fresh. So things like speed work is going to be good. If you're doing 10 sets of 2 or 8 sets of 1, 9 sets of 3, you're getting a lot of practice with your setup. You're getting a lot of practice doing your first repetition, which is the most important. So I'm going to continue to work on my technique and make sure I start to kind of eliminate a lot of that fatigue that I built up. Like I said, I'm very run down right now. So I'm going to kind of put a premium on my sleep and recovery and make sure things are kind of moving forward in the right direction. Got a couple, so all the heavy squats and deadlifts are done. I'm going to get a couple, 1 to 2 more bench shirted workouts in and just kind of try to salvage that. I think it's important, just again, as a life lesson and things like that, that, you know, when things are tough, to kind of continue to push forward. You never know when things are going to turn around for yourself, so you got to stay in the fight. There's a lot of times it crossed my mind pulling out from the meet. It crossed my mind just like not wanting to train. But I think it's really important, just as a person and things like that, just to kind of always finish what you start, even if it's not perfect, because you kind of never know how things are going to turn out. And if you don't like throw your hat in the ring, you never know if you're going to be successful, you're going to be victorious. You have to actually like put yourself out there. You got to try, even when things are maybe not in your favor. You know, a lot of times, like I said, we kind of use these battle references and things like that, and it really is not life or death, even though sometimes it could feel like that. And a lot of times if it does feel like that, it's because you care, and I think that that's a good thing. And for me, sometimes I might put a little bit unnecessary pressure on myself, being kind of the leader of the team and the owner of the business. We have like the lead the front, artwork on the walls. I think it's important to lead by example, and sometimes I maybe put a little bit too much pressure on myself to perform at a certain level or to be at a certain strength level. Sometimes I feel like I'm not strong enough, even though we all kind of know, like in the grand scheme of things, the average person doesn't really give a darn what you squat or what your total is. But I think it's important that if I'm instructing people how to get stronger, that I need to continue to work on that myself. I think that's important that you practice what you preach, and I think that's a sign of a good coach. A good coach not necessarily is a world record holder, but I think it's important that they're always kind of working towards improving themselves, and then they're walking the walk. I think that's important, and I know that's important to me, and that's why I'm going to continue to kind of put myself out there, continue to compete at whatever level I'm capable of. I want to continue to do this for a long time, and I want to have fun in the process. So, moving forward, probably just need to be a little bit more careful about my planning when I do the contest, maybe to be a little more realistic with when I do my competitions and things like that. So it's doing something around the Arnold, maybe for next year, maybe it's not in the cards, just because I imagine that our business and our team will continue to get busier and busier, so I may need to maybe compete once a year in the fall or something like that. But it's been fun. I'm excited for this meet. After the contest, not to get too far ahead, I do plan on kind of taking a little bit of a break from competing and just leaning out a little bit more, because like I said, I do want to make the 198 class at some point. That is the next kind of goal on the horizon, but I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. We've got to get through this meet first, so we're going to get a total of 220. I'd like to nail an 800-pound squat, so I can get that fourth weight class in for that 800-pound barrier. And other than that, I'm just looking to have fun, just put up a good total. At this point, a lot of the stress is kind of getting off. A lot of the hard work is done. It's just a matter of kind of showing up and then just letting all that hard work kind of come to fruition. So again, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy the content, please subscribe. It really helps us out. Check out the links below if you want to support the program. And that's really it. Thank you guys for following me along my journey. And until next time, stay strong, and I'll see you soon.